The story continues. Even with Mr. P gone, the infection still spreads throughout the world. When Mr. P fought till his last breath, we all thought everything was over. Little did we know, we had a whole lot more chapters, and there were much worse things that the Piggy world had in store. Chapter 1. Is you daydreaming of the day that you caught Willow? She's a criminal. All of a sudden, you wake up from your daydream. Zizzy and Pony are standing in front of you, asking if you are going with them. You ask where they are going, and they tell you that they're going to the store to get batteries for an old radio. You go with them. You, Zizzy, and Pony arrive at the store. You quickly get the batteries and head back to the safe place. When you get back, you get the radio working again. There's a voice going through the radio telling you that they are a group of survivors. They tell you all to meet them at the old oak forest. After some questioning, you decide to go check it out. When you arrive, you meet a group called the TSP. The leader is Willow, the person that you arrested. The TSP kidnapped Zizzy and took her back to their base. You and Pony decided to follow them and save her. You follow them until you arrive at a refinery. You go inside, and after a bit of searching and trouble with the TSP members chasing you, you find Zizzy. She was fighting some of the infected. You tell her that it's time to get out of there. Zizzy thought that she pulled a muscle and looked at her arm. But it wasn't a pulled muscle, she had been infected. You both were in shock and incredibly sad. You said your final goodbyes and went back to the safe place. After some time had passed, you wake up in the safe place and hear loud bangs coming from outside. George wakes you up, and you go to get everyone out and escape. After everyone has escaped, you see the TSP members outside of the safe place. They were blowing everything up. There's a tense argument happening. Willow and her crew decided to bring you and your friends with them and lock you up. All of a sudden, Z and Zuzi break out of the vent in the jail cell. They tell you that they are going to find a way out of the cell through the sewers. You decide to go and leave the rest of the group in the cell so no one gets suspicious. You eventually make your way through the sewers. Z and Zuzi tell you that they need to go back to the safe place and grab some things. You go on up and unlock the cell door. You all make it out until Willow stops you. She pulls out her gun and fires. You're tired of running. It's the showdown between you and Willow. She gives you a head start, and you run to find something that you can use to stop her. You give swords to Pony for him to attack Willow. She eventually passes out, but then you notice all of her crew members were stuck in some sort of way. You decide to save them and head out of the factory. When you get out, Willow comes up behind you with her gun. Right as she's about to shoot you, her crew members tell her to stop because you saved their lives. Willow asked who Z and Zuzi were, and she realized that they were Zizzy's sisters. She felt bad and joined you and your crew to help save Zizzy. She told you guys that she had heard of a cure that was across the sea, and that's exactly where you're heading. You get to the city port to try and get across the sea. Willow tells you that some weird tiger took her boat. You try to find out if you could get the lighthouse working. Then, you can see if any ship comes. You find some batteries and get the lighthouse working. You see a massive ship in the distance and it reaches you. You all climb up the ship and hear a mysterious voice. All of a sudden, a person named Captain Budgie jumps out. She tells you that she can get you across the sea, but her fuel is running low. and it was down in the ship where her infected crew members are. Willow offers to go get the fuel, and you go with her down into the ship. You and Willow go down into the ship and look for the fuel. You defeat some of the infected on your way. You eventually find your way to the fuel. When you get in the container, an infected shuts the door, sealing you in with Willow. You have an argument that lasts minutes, but then George opens the door, along with everyone else. You are confused on how they found you, but ignored it. You go up onto the deck of the ship, and you arrived at the docks. You got off of the ship and said your farewells to Budgie. You and Pony try and find a way up to the surface. You find a way there and see a person that looked familiar. You tell him to wait and ask who he was. It was Tiggy. He chased you around the refinery, even though he didn't want to. He was told to do so by Willow. He apologizes for that, and you understand him. He tells you that he's looking for the cure too, and he took Willow's boat to get there. He realizes that Willow is with you, and you're working with her to get the cure. He tells you that you're on the wrong side, and if you ditch Willow, he will help you save Zizzy. You don't trust him that much yet. His offer still stands, but he left and went to find the cure. Pony comes in, and you let him know what's going on. You get everyone else and move her out. You meet a person named Kona, and he offers you that you go down into an underground temple to get to the cure. You and Robbie, which is Kona's safety robot, make your way down to clear a path for the rest of the group to come through. You find a way out and get everyone. Once you're outside, you start feeling weird. All of a sudden, you pass out. When you wake up, you're in a black room. You see Bunny in front of you, but you know she's dead. It's just a hallucination. All of a sudden, a man in a purple suit appears in front of you. He tells you that you're inside of your memories, because he shows you all of these things from the past, like the plant and school. He offers you that if you don't look for the cure, then he can help you see your friends again. But you don't listen to him. You wake up to Pony in front of you. You decide to ignore it and keep moving on forward to the outpost, where the cure is. When you all arrived, Kona told you on the radio that the outpost ahead had been silent for a while, which meant that it had been wiped out by the infected. You went in anyway and found the lab. Pony wanted to talk to you for a minute, so you let the others go and step aside. Pony told you that he was the one that infected Doggy back in the forest. You were in shock and was really disappointed in him. He apologized and said he was forced to. And while you couldn't forgive him, you were still friends. You kept going and went into the lab, where the cure was. All of you split up to find the cure, but you see Tiggy placing bombs all over the place. Willow saw Tiggy, and they both got angry and started arguing, and they eventually started fighting. You yelled at them to stop, but they didn't listen. They kept fighting until the bombs went off. Debris started falling from the ceiling, and it fell in between you. You were trapped, with Willow and Tiggy fighting. It only meant that you had to find the cure on your own. You opened the door next to you and started to search for the cure. When you had searched for a little while and had been chased by the infected, you found it. The cure was plain in sight, right in front of you. You took it, but then you ran out of that room and saw Willow and Tiggy still fighting. Tiggy was done with it, telling Willow to finish him off. You tell Willow to stop, and told her that fighting him would only make things worse. But then, in the middle of it, Mimi comes in, telling you to come check out what's going on outside of the military base. When you made your way over to that area, everyone was already there. A massive military helicopter landed. A military officer named Sergeant Monroe had came due to a distress signal that Mimi sent out. All of a sudden, infected started rising from the ground. Right as you all were about to start attacking them, you hallucinate into the black room you were in at the temple. You see the man in the purple suit. He told you that he had warned you not to get the cure. He said his name was Tio. He told you that getting the cure would only make the world worse. It would cause another war, but not against the monsters, against the people. You proved him wrong and said that it was a thing to bring the world back to how it was before. He told you that you were too oblivious to see the destruction of the future, and that he would have no choice but to stop you himself. He all of a sudden transformed into a giant ink monster. You got teleported into a maze-like room. You then realized that since you were in your memories, you can use them to fight against him. Once you realized that you could do that, you started using your memories to attack the monster. You kept attacking and attacking until the final blow killed him. He started falling apart, along with the room. You were back in the real world. The military cleared out the last of the infected. Willow apologized to Tiggy and they wanted to travel on their own, since the military wouldn't let both of them come with them. You and Willow said your goodbyes and the military brought you back across the sea. In the end, you saved Zizzy and went back to the safe place to hopefully live a normal life while the infection slowly wears off.